I'm Teresa from SweetCreekMoon.com here at the ADORNit shop, and I'm going to share with you an adorable Crazy for Daisy dress. Crazy for Daisy because that's the fabric we're going to use. It's from the store here. What you're going to need for this particular dress is 18 inches for the body of the dress. You'll need 5 inches of the border that's here. You'll need 6 inches for the flower blossoms and the trim around here, and then just a fat quarter for the stem and the leaves. If you want to add the trim, you'll need a yard and a half of the rig rack. You'll need some heat and bond, scissors, nice sharp cut, and pencil and a measuring tape. So let's go. The first thing that you're going to do when you have all of your materials in front of you is you are going to cut a 1 1/4 inch piece of fabric off of the main body of the dress. 1 1/4 inch off of that one, as well as, we'll use this later, as well as 1 1/4 inch off of the stuff that you're going to use for the blossoms. Adorable fabric. 1 1/4 and 1 1/4. Now, we're going to go back to the body of the dress. 2 pieces we'll set aside for just for now. Going back to the body of the dress, you're just going to decide on your own, but for the sake of this video, we're going to use this center line for the way to measure. Fold the fabric from the side, fold the fabric from the side, and that's going to be, if you look at it, you can tell that that's going to be the dress. We're going to make a particularly wide seam, an inch seam on the back, for a reason, and we'll show that to you right now. You're going to make an inch seam down the back, 5 inches from the top, or 4, depending on the size of a girl you're trying to dress. Then you will finish the edges, and here's why. From the top, to make this as easy as we could, because that's what we wanted to do, make it so that everyone could make this dress. You're going to fold under, and then run a 1/4 inch seam all the way here, fold this under, and then finish it off with a 1/4 inch seam there. And there you have the opening for the little girl's neck in the back. Easy, no button, no zippers, pretty fabulous. Now, once you have that done, and you can see that it's already cut out here, back here you can see that it needs to be cut. I'm going to show you how I did it. I measured down 3 1/2 inches with my trusty measuring tape, 3 1/2 inches down, and made a little mark with my pencil. Then across the top, I made a 1 1/2 inch measure and marked it. Now, all I'm going to quickly do is draw a line, and this doesn't have to be perfect. Take your time, take your time. You're going to connect the top one with the side one. Pretty easy. When you're done with that, simply cut out what will be the armhole of the dress. And I'm being very careful not to cut the dresses just below, because that would make me weep and wail. Go to the other side. You don't have to mark on that side, because there on that side, you can cut down the other armhole. Da, 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 da. Pretty excellent, I say. Pretty excellent. So now at this point, you will have the seam down the back and the 2 armholes cut. Now, this is where you're going to use that piece that we cut at the beginning. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this inside out, and I've already done it on one side just to show you. You just take this piece and make sure if there's any selvage on the end that you just cut it off and toss it. That you run a 1/4 inch seam on the armhole to this, right sides together, all the way to the other side. When you get there, you'll clip it off, which is what I did. Once it's sewn, and I would do it with a machine, I hand basted it just for right now. Once you have it right sides together, sewn, I'm going to flip it over and then iron it so that there's a nice little sharp crease. And I'm going to fold this under while I'm at it. So easy. It's halfway, and then end it off with a 1/4 inch seam. Very simple. Do it on both arms, and then that part is done. Now what we're going to do, so this is done. It's underneath. Here's what the finished product on the armholes is going to look like. Right here. Easy, easy, easy. Now we're going to put the border on the bottom. Now, remember we're having this cute fabric, and because we wanted to make it easy, and loving that word a lot, we're going to sew a seam, and this seam has to match because this is going to go on the bottom. You'll notice that this has to be cut or sewn an inch. Big seam here, big seam here. So once it's sewn, I guess I could use that word one more time, I'm going to take this circle and fold it in half all the way around. And then this, it'll make it easier, you don't have to, but it'll make it easier if you run this through an iron over it for a quick press so that this becomes quite a sharp edge. Now, with that, and remember there's right sides on both, I'm going to do the right side together, match the seams in the back, right sides together, and then pin. Go all the way around with the pinning, and then you will run another 1/4 inch seam. This dress is full of 1/4 inch seams except for the 1 inch one right up the back. So when you're done, it's a finished edge right there. And if you have a serger, run it over the edge. If you don't, do a zigzag stitch, and then that part is done. Now, what you're going to do now, if you don't want to add any zigzag to this, and we're going to go to the next piece, if you don't want to add a zigzag to this, then you would make a stem that goes clear from the top to the bottom of the fabric, both fabrics. So this one's pre-cut, and it would go all the way to the bottom. But because I want to add this little rickrack, I would cut it off, which we're going to do over here. Cut it off, and then following the instructions on the heat and bond, attach the heat and bond to the back of your stem. Then you'll take off the back of the stem and the leaves, and I don't think we have to do this at this very second. Pull it off, and then you're going to iron it down the middle. Have my leaves already done. Here's an easy thing for making any kind of pattern. Put it on paper first, decide if that's the size you want, and then put it on the fabric. This happens to be 4 1/4, this happens to be 3 3/4 inch long. Just figure what you like. So I cut it out on the fabric, then I lay out the leaves on the dress, however cute that I want it, and then following the instructions again, heat it and iron it down. So cute, so cute. And it's at this point where we get to add the blossoms that go across the neck. Okay, so here is where we're going to make a little switch. You'll notice that this is gray with a blue blossom. No, it's not blue, it's yellow. Haha. So with the yellow blossom. This one is for the smaller girl that I made it for because white seems to be a little bit too clean. So we're going to switch to another dress using the exact same pattern. And you'll notice this has the yellow background. We're going to put white petals on this one. Let me show you how we put the white petals on. You'll notice that you can do so many different things with the different fabrics that they have, which is part of the reason it's so adorable. Now across the top, we'll do this, across the top of the dress, after you've ironed these on, across the top you're going to run a basting stitch so that you can make the neck smaller. The easiest way for me to have measured the neck was have the little girl raise her hands and measure from the inside to the inside. This happens to be 6 inches. So I pulled the thread, you can see the gather, so it was gathered to a 6 inch. Then I'm going to lay these cute, which you need to know how to make. Again, make a sweet paper pattern before you put the real fabric on. This one happens to be 3 3/4 inch long by 2 1/2. You don't want to make them too big because it will overwhelm the dress. You'll have these, you'll lay out your fabric, you'll cut out the petals on with the fabric, then you'll turn them right side out, right sides together, sew a 1/4 inch seam. Let me just show you how I quickly did that one in this one. So easy. Sew a 1/4 inch seam, and then, like I just did, turn it inside out and iron it flat because they're easier to work with. Then, setting that aside, you'll just quickly lay the 4 petals. I made 8 sets of petals and sewed them together. Laying them across, 1, 2, 3, 4, Da-da-da-da. Can you see how cute this is? Seriously. I just want to grab all the little girls on the street and put them in them. All right. You will want to pin them because this is quite a lot of material and little pieces to put together. Pin them, and then you're going to sew, and guess what kind of seam? 1/4 inch. Yeah, easy peasy. So we have a 1/4 inch seam across the front. You'll do the exact same to the 2 pieces in the back. I've gathered one here, not with the other one, but you will put the 2 pieces, lay the 2 petals. Now to the very, very last part. No zippers, no buttons. This is really kind of wonderful. Remember that piece of fabric that we cut at the very beginning that was the same color as the petals? This one is white, and it goes the entire length of the fabric. I sewed closed up to 5 inches on both sides, so the inside is not done. Then I took and ironed it, turned it inside out, so now that I have a finished seam, a finished little strap, and ironed it halfway. Easy way to measure halfway, because this is where I'm going to start right at the top of the stem, is to lay it out, right sides together to the blossom. And this is after I've sewn the blossoms, because I would do that before you did this part. You're going to sew this all the way across, and this is, I'm hoping that this is a beginner to intermediate kind of a dress so that you can do whatever you would like. Run a seam across, and the only thing that we have to learn next is to just how to make the shoulder on the top. So pin it, sew it. Once it's sewn, you're going to turn it around and then fold this part, very similar to what we did to the armholes, and then you're going to sew the seam. It finishes it off so nicely, cleanly across the top. Now, we have to figure out how we're going to connect this part to this one. I measured 4 inches, and the 4-inch measurement fit on the 1.5-year-old as well as on the 2 and the 3-year-old. Measure 4 inches, and then that's where I'm going to connect it on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mark it with my thumb because I don't want to do any more pins. And then I'm going to pin it back here. Do that on both sides. And when you get to that part, you're just going to leave it open because I'm going to pretend. So here's what I'm doing with my machine. Sewing, 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 measuring 4 inches, going to the next part, attaching it, and sewing, sewing, sewing with the petals on till I get to that point. So then you'll have this little bit, if you have any left over, you're going to do the exact same thing. Put it over and sew it shut. Let's go back to the finished one. Oh, ta-da! So you will have a stitch that goes on the outside that matches with this. There's enough in the back to close it with a cute little bow. No snaps, no buttons, again with no zippers, and can I tell you how much I love that? Yeah! Oh, and there you have it! An adorable little Crazy for Daisy dress. Dress it up like you'd like it. As simply as you want, or doll it up. If you love what you see, please click on the link below. Thank you so much for watching. We'd love to see you back again.